Hi, and welcome to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's virtual public meeting presentation for the Hidden Lane Landfill Superfund site, proposed plan for the landfill cap and source area. My name is Alex Mandel, and I'm the EPA Community Involvement Coordinator for the site. You will also be hearing from Chris Vallone, the EPA Remedial Project Manager for the site, during this presentation. EPA is committed to protecting public health, and with the current COVID-19 health emergency restrictions and recommendations, this video is being published in place of an in-person public meeting. The presentation in this video has the same information that EPA would have shared during an in-person public meeting. The goal of this presentation is to provide information on the Hidden Lane Landfill Superfund site proposed cleanup plan. EPA is accepting comments on this proposed plan in several ways. Formal comments on the proposed plan can be submitted via mail, email, and voicemail box. The public comment period begins on April 12th, 2021, and all comments must be received by May 12th, 2021. In addition, EPA will host a live question and answer session on April 21st, 2021 from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. This session will provide an opportunity for the public to ask questions with EPA personnel and others during the session regarding the proposed plan. Details on the question and answer session will be provided later in this presentation. Now, Chris will discuss the proposed cleanup plan for the Hidden Lane Landfill Superfund site. Please see the Hidden Lane Landfill Superfund site webpage for the documents discussed during this presentation and additional information or updates on the site at any time. Chris, please go ahead.
Thank you, Alex. Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Vallone, and as Alex mentioned, I am the Remedial Project Manager on the Hidden Lane Landfill Superfund site. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation about the proposed plan at the Hidden Lane Landfill Superfund site. In this presentation, we are going to talk about the Superfund process, history of the site, EPA's preferred cleanup alternatives, additional cleanup alternatives, and community participation. Cleaning up Superfund sites is a multi-phase process. During the assessment phase, shown here, EPA gathers information and data to evaluate if there is a threat to human health and the environment. If a site warrants a cleanup, it is proposed to the National Priorities List. If a site is listed to the National Priorities List, the site is eligible for long-term cleanup financed under the Superfund program. For the Hidden Lane Landfill Superfund site, we are at the characterization phase, shown here. This stage includes fully identifying the nature and extent of contamination, evaluating potential cleanup options, and presenting EPA's preferred cleanup alternatives, also known as a proposed plan, to the public for comment. This is the current step we are in for the Hidden Lane Landfill Superfund site. Additional phases in the Superfund process include the selection of the remedy, cleanup, and post-construction. Throughout all phases, community involvement is essential. Our goal is to advocate, empower, and strengthen community participation during Superfund cleanups. The Hidden Lane Landfill Superfund site was a privately owned and operated landfill from 1971 through 1984. The facility accepted a variety of solid wastes, including construction and demolition waste. The landfill was closed in 1986 by order of the Commonwealth of Virginia. As part of the closure, the landfill was covered with a 2-foot clay cap. In 2005, Loudoun County Health Department sampled 67 residential drinking water wells in the Broad Run Farms community for a contaminant called trichloroethane, also known as TCE. TCE is a widely used industrial solvent. Based on sampling results, the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality installed carbon treatment systems in the affected residents to remove the TCE. In 2008, EPA listed the site on the National Priorities List. In 2009, the characterization phase began. The investigation included sampling and analysis of groundwater, surface water, sediments, as well as landfill gases associated with the landfill. During the investigation and cleanup of a Superfund site, it sometimes makes sense to divide a site into distinct areas depending on the complexity of the contamination associated with the site. These areas, called operable units, allow EPA to address different portions of the site. In 2017, EPA worked closely with the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality to divide the site into 3 operable units. The 3 operable units for the Hidden Lane Landfill Superfund site are Operable Unit 1, which addresses site-wide groundwater contamination. Operable Unit 2, which addresses groundwater contamination in residential wells. And Operable Unit 3, which is the topic of this presentation. Operable Unit 3 addresses the landfill cap and the source area. In 2020, EPA concluded additional characterization of the landfill. This included evaluating the integrity of the landfill cap as well as locating the source of groundwater contamination, also known as the source area. As a result of these activities, EPA is now proposing cleanup alternatives for the landfill cap and the source area. Here is a bird's eye view map of the Hidden Lane Landfill Superfund site, located in Sterling, Loudoun County, Virginia. The white line on this map shows an outline of the Hidden Lane Landfill property boundary. The yellow line on this map shows the landfill area, which includes the landfill cap. The red oval shape shows the source area. The Broad Run Farms community is located to the left, and the Countryside community is to the right. The Potomac River is located just north of the property boundary. Let's dive in a little closer to the 2 areas that are the focus of the cleanup alternatives. This illustration is an artist's rendering. Its purpose is to show an example of what the overburden and bedrock layers may look like at the landfill and the source area. As you can see in this illustration, the overburden layer begins at the ground surface and ends where the bedrock layer begins. This overburden layer may include, but is not limited to, vegetation, soil, sand, silt, and clay. The bedrock layer consists of solid rock. As you may see, there are small fractures in the bedrock where groundwater can flow. At the source area, data has shown that contamination is present in both the overburden as well as the bedrock. This concentrated area of contamination in the source area is the driving force for these cleanup alternatives. There are 9 criteria that EPA uses to evaluate the cleanup alternatives. EPA completed an evaluation of the first 7 criteria. EPA looked at the relative advantages and disadvantages of our cleanup alternatives based on the consideration of these criteria. We are currently evaluating the last 2 criteria, state acceptance and community acceptance. We are also in the public comment phase for the proposed plan. This public comment period is important because it allows us an opportunity to seek feedback from you, the community, before making any final decisions regarding our cleanup plan. To summarize, Operable Unit 3 at the site consists of addressing the landfill cap and the source area. EPA has reviewed all of the alternatives for Operable Unit 3 and has concluded that the following are EPA's preferred alternatives. Alternative 2 includes landfill cap, repair and maintenance, as well as land use controls. Alternative 2 would be protective of human health and the environment because maintenance of the landfill cap and land use controls would protect the integrity of the cleanup. The estimated cost of this cleanup alternative is $280,000. Alternative 3A includes excavation of the source area. This excavation would remove the contaminated overburden layer from the source area down to where the bedrock begins. The contaminated overburden layer would be safely transported off-site to an approved facility licensed to accept the contamination. The area that was excavated would be backfilled using clean soil. Alternative 3A would be protective of human health and the environment by removing the contaminated overburden layer in the source area, which contributes to contamination of groundwater. The estimated cost of this cleanup alternative is $2,040,000. Alternative 5B includes in situ bioremediation of the source area. In situ refers to below ground or in place, and bioremediation refers to the use of microbes to target and treat contaminated soil and groundwater. Microbes are very small organisms, such as bacteria, that live naturally in the environment. There are certain microbes that use contaminants as a source of food and energy, and in the process destroy the contamination in groundwater. This process is referred to as bioremediation. This alternative would use in situ bioremediation in the bedrock only and would be protective of human health and the environment. The estimated cost of this cleanup alternative is $5,936,000. In summary, EPA believes these three preferred cleanup alternatives will 1. Prevent direct contact with landfill waste and minimize infiltration of precipitation into the landfill. And 2. Reduce mass and concentrations of the source area contaminants. This will allow the known groundwater plume to achieve cleanup goals in the future. EPA also evaluated additional cleanup alternatives. Although they were not selected as preferred cleanup alternatives, the advantages and disadvantages of these cleanup alternatives are provided in this proposed plan. These additional cleanup alternatives include Alternative 1, which is a no-action alternative. It is required that EPA include a no-action alternative as part of the proposed plan process. This alternative would mean EPA would not take an action to the landfill cap or the source area. Alternative 3B includes excavation of the source area. This excavation would remove the contaminated overburden layer in the source area down to where the bedrock begins. However, unlike EPA's preferred cleanup alternative 3A, where the contaminated overburden layer would be safely transported off-site, alternative 3B would treat the contaminated overburden soil layer on-site. A treatment system would be used to clean the contaminated soil. The excavated area would be backfilled using the treated soils from the on-site treatment system. The estimated cost of this cleanup alternative is $2,232,000. Alternative 4 includes groundwater pump and treat of the source area. The contaminated groundwater from the source area would be pulled from the overburden and bedrock layers and pumped through a treatment system. The treatment system would clean the contaminated groundwater and then pump the clean groundwater back into the aquifer. The estimated cost of this cleanup alternative is $13,246,000. Alternative 5A includes in situ bioremediation of the source area. Unlike EPA's preferred cleanup alternative 5B, where the microbes would be placed into the bedrock only, this alternative would place these microbes into the overburden and bedrock groundwater to destroy contamination in the source area. The estimated cost of this cleanup alternative is $8,983,000. Alternative 6A includes in situ chemical oxidation of the source area. In situ chemical oxidation uses chemicals called oxidants to target harmful contaminants and change them into less toxic ones. This alternative would place these oxidants into the overburden and bedrock groundwater to destroy contamination in the source area. The estimated cost of this cleanup alternative is $20,559,000. Alternative 6B includes in situ chemical oxidation of the source area. However, unlike Alternative 6A, this alternative would use in situ chemical oxidation to destroy contamination in groundwater within the bedrock only. Another cleanup alternative for the overburden layer would need to be selected along with Alternative 6B to clean up the source area. The estimated cost of this cleanup alternative is $11,142,000. Alternative 7 includes electrical resistivity heating treatment of the source area. This thermal treatment heats harmful contamination in soil and groundwater, turning the contamination into vapors. These vapors would then be pulled from the ground using a vapor extraction system, which is connected to a treatment system on site. This alternative would use thermal treatment in the overburden and bedrock groundwater in the source area. The estimated cost of this cleanup alternative is $27,040,000. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this presentation, and I hope this information was helpful. We are very much looking forward to receiving all comments on this proposed plan. And now I will turn it back over to Alex, who will go over the specifics on how you can comment, as well as share additional information you may find useful.
Thanks, Chris, for that detailed explanation of EPA's preferred cleanup alternatives and the additional cleanup alternatives. EPA is accepting comments on these cleanup alternatives between April 12, 2021 through May 12, 2021. To view the proposed plan, please visit our website at www.epa.gov/superfund/hidden lane. Following the comment period, EPA will consider and respond to all relevant comments received in the final cleanup plan called a Record of Decision. Comments can be submitted to EPA in 3 ways, and all means of submission will be treated equally. You can submit comments via mail. U.S. EPA Region 3, attention Chris Vallone, 1650 Art Street, mail code 3SD23, Philadelphia, PA 19103. Comments can also be submitted via email to vallone.christopher@epa.gov. Or verbal comments will be accepted via phone by calling 215-814-2007. Please note that the phone line provided is a voicemail box only, and you must leave a message with your comments. Remember to speak slowly and clearly and include your name and number in case we need to reach out for any clarification. In addition, EPA will host a live question and answer session on April 21st, 2021 from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. The call-in number for this session is 484-352-3221. You will be prompted to put in a conference ID, which is 722-199-998#. This session will provide an opportunity for the public to ask questions regarding the proposed plan with EPA personnel and others on the call. Formal comments on the proposed plan should be submitted via mail, email, and voicemail box, as explained in the previous slide. Please feel free to contact us with any questions or comments. Thank you again for taking the time to listen to this presentation on the Hidden Lane Landfill Superfund site proposed plan for the landfill cap and source area.